Bryant. Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! Oh, he banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
Oh, man, those poker chips get me every time. What is up?
Whoa.
Welcome to Winning on Wednesday, the first Winning on Wednesday for 2024. Happy New Year to you guys. Thank you for tuning in. My name's Tony Merwin, the co-host. That's my buddy over there, Joe Kampert, the king of trucking, the king of Facebook groups, the jolly ginger giant himself. How are you doing this morning, my man?
Well, you talk about poker chips. The second time around, poker chips didn't get me. But the first time around, actually, the house got me. So that was fun.
The house always wins, baby.
I tell you, man, it was at the Nugget. We stopped in Lake Charles on our way to New Orleans. So you guys, some of y'all probably saw my post, but my wife surprised me on Christmas Eve and got me tickets to the Sugar Bowl. I'm not going to talk about the result of the game, but it was an amazing trip. But we broke it up and we stopped in Lake Charles, right? Lake Charles, I think, right outside of Beaumont. And so hit the casino there, the Golden Nugget, and just got rained on those blackjack tables, dude.
Is it still a boat? Is it still a
no,
boat?
So
or
there is a boat. There's a boat one that's I think that one's actually a little bit closer to Baton Rouge, if I'm not mistaken. But there's one in Lake Charles that's like it's like an actual building. But
they
it was
used to only allow them to be boats for a long time. They had to be on the water because of, and I don't know all the rules in gaming and ever, but it had to do with, I guess, coastal waters, international waters, something like that. But that was the only way they could do gaming in Louisiana for a long time.
Yeah. No, this one was a building, and then there was another one that was like right next to it. But yeah, we split that. That's definitely my weekly win, not the loss.
Your weekly win is losing at blackjack. That's awesome.
Not the blackjack. And technically, it was Maria that lost all of our money. So if Maria, you're watching this, it's on you. But no, it was a blast. We had a great trip to New Orleans. We split it up. I think that's definitely the way to do it, because yesterday it ended up being everybody and their brother driving home to Texas from the game.
Absolutely.
Ended up being a 10+ hour road trip home yesterday. So we got home late. But actually, you know what? That's part of my weekly win too. And so we're on day 3 of our Extreme Revolution. Tony, I know you have been posting. You're kind of doing your 75 days. So a little bit different than what we're doing here, me and the guys in the office. But it was funny because it was like I was kind of stressed because I'm like, man, it's going to be January 1 when we kick this thing off. Right. And so it's like, okay, New Year's Eve on Bourbon Street, and then I'm waking up and working out. And it's funny, too, because you think, well, maybe not. I don't know. It's the first, right? So new year, new me. Man, I was the only person up in that freaking fitness center, man. But it was really cool. Got to do that. And then we drove home late yesterday. I was going to work out before. And so basically, again, it's 45-minute workout, 20 pages of reading a day. And then really just, again, eating healthy. And so I had been able to knock everything else out. But then got home around like 8:30 last night. I was like, damn. I still got to get my workout in. So I was able to get that done and then ate a nice salad yesterday. But that's part of my week. But my weekly win definitely was going to the trip. It was an amazing trip. The game, even though the result was not what we wanted, was still, electric, man. That stadium was just freaking popping, man.
I could hear it.
It was insane. Yeah.
I watched the game on TV. It was incredible, extremely dramatic there in that last minute.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
I thought Texas was going to win for a second.
I did too. All right, moving on. Tony, what's your weekly win, dude? What you got?
My weekly win is relationships, dude. Check this out. Our boy Dallas Keithley that we just had on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, sent me this book as a thank you. Very nice of him. I threw him a shout out on Facebook, but shout out again, Dallas Keithley. Thank you. Really appreciate this. I'm currently reading E-Myth Revisited because it's honestly, it's perfect for me and my business and where I'm at right now. But this is next. So looking forward to it. Thanks, Dallas, man. But that's super appreciative and very nice gesture of him.
Yeah.
So,
shout out to Dallas. Appreciate you, brother. And hey,
man,
real quick, guys, if you can, it is in the description of the show. Facebook user, I think this might be Ryan England, and I'm sure because I think you have a new Facebook profile that you haven't set up with StreamYard, but go click on that. Up in the description again, it is StreamYard.com/Facebook. We just want to make sure that we can get you up on the show.
So we know who we're talking to. And then drop your weekly wins in the comments too, man. If you got something you're proud of, something you're achieving or going for, put it in the comments. Let us know what your weekly win is. We'll talk about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that being said, y'all, so this is, as Tony said, first winning on Wednesday for 2024. We ended with a bang last week, and just really, again, kind of looking back at the year, even kind of looking back at our first show when we first started winning on Wednesday, to where here we are. It is 2024, y'all. The new year is upon us. We are all back in the full swing of things. And so we really wanted to talk about scaling. I think, for the most part, I know there are some probably one-offs or some individuals out there that are like, I'm not trying to blow up my agency. I'm just going to keep doing my thing and running my shop, which is totally okay if that's what you want to do. But for the most part, I would think that a lot of us, especially people here within this syndicate group, are trying to scale in their businesses. So we really wanted to talk about how how Tony's going to be looking to scale in his business and his agency. And it's going to be marketing, recruiting, all that good stuff. So we got an action-packed show for you. We probably won't go the full 45 minutes just because I know, hey, it's the third. It's the new year, right? We've got a lot of stuff on our plates, but we wanted to spend some time on just, hey, here's kind of how to scale. And I guess I'll kind of kick things off. And it's a big goal of ours here now. And a lot of y'all know that we obviously merged with Brian and the team there over at Clarity. And so part of us when it comes to scaling is we're trying to bring on 50 agencies this year. Okay. So in the year 2024, we are trying to bring on
goals.
50 agencies, right? And so really, how do you do that? Well, first thing is you got to be able to get in front of 50 agencies, right? And again, I say agencies just because of our model. Take this and apply it to your business and what you do. This can be employees, this can be producers, this whatever it is, as far as bringing people on. But that's, I think, one of the best ways to scale, right? Is to bring people on, right? Is to add numbers, add to that workforce, because I think really. Well, there's kind of it's like a double-edged sword, right? But to me, I really believe that in order to really massively scale, you've got to bring people along with you, right? You guys hear me say it all the time. Hey, you want to go fast, do it alone. But if you want to go far, you've got to bring other people with you, right? So again,
I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but I was going to say that is certainly true in the insurance business, because one of the things that you have to think about is the insurance business is a business that trades time for money, right? Mm-hmm. Which means it's a little difficult to scale as an individual because you can only work with one client at a time, right? So if you're an individual guy, you're going to have difficulty scaling your business all by yourself. There are certain efficiencies you can put into place that can help you write more business, right? And as an individual guy, your thoughts of scaling, if it's outside of recruiting new agents, it has to be in creating more efficiency so that you can generate more business to increase your sales, your commissions, and your growth. But alternatively, the biggest way to scale, especially in insurance, is through duplication.
Yep, 100%. And I think I wrote that on my mirror last night. Facebook user, hey guys, real quick, go to the description. I want to be able to see who you guys are and hit that link. It's again, StreamYard.com/Facebook, just so we can see who you are and communicate with you on the show. But I think, part of it is recruiting, right? But then also, what are you recruiting to? And I think that's something important that when you're talking with agents, and I think a lot of the times people recruit to them and what they want. And again, I might be a little controversial here, but for me, anytime I'm opening up like a kind of an interview or whatever, I always ask, in your ideal world, right? If everything was tip top and perfect, right? What would that look like to you? Because I really want to see like, what do they really want? Because I think sometimes too, and I know I've been victim of this, is that we go like, hey, you know what? I'm going to bring on 50 agencies, right? And then you bring on any and everybody just to hit the count, but then they don't fit at all with what your agency is, right? So I always like to lead with that is like, what in your ideal world, what would this thing really look like, right? And then allow them to kind of go through that with you. And then when you're going through that interview process, then now it's like, hey, I'm sitting here and like, okay, perfect. They said that, oh, shit, man, they're talking about money a lot. And it's like, oh, well, it's because they just want to keep their current staff. Okay, good deal. Okay. And I think that's super important, right? To know where they're trying to go and see if it fits with where you're trying to go. Again, it's not just about hitting that number count. It's not just about me bringing on 50 freaking people. It's about bringing on the cream of the crop is what we're trying to do, right? And so, again, I think when you're leading that interview with what do you really want out of this thing, it'll give you a good idea of the candidate, right, of that agent, of that agency, of whoever you're looking to bring on. And even I know, obviously, for you, Tony, when you're recruiting and you're giving out some of these contracts and some even just a contract level, right, you're not going to give certain contract levels to, I guess, a certain type of people. And I'm not as familiar, obviously, with your space.
In some cases, I can't because the carrier has requirements for certain levels. So, sometimes your hands are tied and you can't even give them more points, even if you want to.
Yeah. But again, what are you really recruiting them to? And knowing what are they trying to get out of it, and then knowing that, hey, okay, here's what we can offer. Right now, again, if you're multifaceted and you're an independent broker and you've got access to care, it makes it a little bit easier to have that conversation. But I like to give that little nugget to everybody is that when you're hopping into that, like that's always what I want to hear first. Like, what do they really want out of this? What would be perfect in their eyes? And then, hey, guess what? Maybe I can't give them their 100% ideal world, but man, I can check off 4 of the 5 boxes, right? To where, again, it's kind of, there's not a lot out there where it's like, hey, I can just like, there's not a unicorn out there for you, right? So again, really trying to figure out what they want out of it, but then what are you recruiting them to? Really knowing your business, right? And your care, it's kind of like what we talked about with the 8 daily steps to success, Tony. Is like working your territory, know your territory, right? Like you can't work your territory correctly if you don't know your territory. So what are you bringing them into? And I think there's a system I'm going to show you guys. Dave Williams, we actually were just talking about him last week. One of our best podcasts that we've had here on the show, and just his mission and just really his story is super powerful. But it's how we're onboarding them. And again, I will say I haven't always been the best about this. I know that we have the trainings there. We have the videos, right? We do House of Dreams. We go through really how to, what we'll call optimize opportunities. And that's, again, I guess we'll start there before I even get into the system, right? So you guys obviously know House of Dreams is something I do with literally everybody. It's the first thing that we do before we even look to bring anybody into like training or into systems or anything like that. Hey, like, I want to know what you're really trying to build. Kind of goes back to what's your ideal kind of business. Like, what are you really trying to get out of this thing? But it's a little bit deeper, but then it's going into opportunities, and again, I'm talking about when recruiting, right? I'm bringing people on, helping them see, and this, Tony, just as well as anybody else does in this group, man, there is so many freaking opportunities in this industry, right? And I think sometimes, especially with a new agent, they have no idea which way to go, right? And so we go straight from that House of Dreams, right? So, hey, people are on, we've sent them contracts, okay, signed contracts, okay, and on the PNC side, it costs to play. So then we invoice, bring people on, we're doing House of Dreams. Carrier contracting is kicking off while we're doing that. But then it's, okay, hey, let's really look at our opportunities. And I like to do whiteboard sesh. So I just, hey, throw up all the opportunities. Where do you really, and again, kind of cater it a little bit specific to their agency and their, like, what they're trying to build, right? As long as it obviously is a little bit cohesive, right, and congruent with your business model, right? You don't want just that one-off person that's going completely against your business model, but like, what are they really trying to build, right? It's their book of business, it's their clients. And so then we'll go through that really, okay, here's all the opportunities. And you'll see, guys, when you do it, there's like, well, I could do trucking, I can do auto and home, I can do coffee shops, and I know this is PNC specific, right? There's all these different ways that you can make money in this industry. But then it's, okay, now that we have them all up on the board, not saying that they're bad if we don't choose them, right? It's a lot of times it's not the idea. It's not a matter of if, right? It's a matter of when. So let's just focus on 3, right? So then anytime that I'm recruiting or I bring somebody on, hey, we get all the opportunities up there, because then now I know how they're trying to do it. But then let's go through and actually prioritize 3 of those opportunities. And typically we do that based off of what's going to make you the most money, right? It's so funny. Some people are like, man, I really want this. And then it's like, dude, but that pays you pennies compared to this, right? So it's like we still have to have that business mindset as well, but then really prioritizing the top three. Not to say that again, hey, let's really iron out these top three. I know that's been kind of something we've been talking about here in office the past few weeks is let's just find those 3 lanes we want to run in, right? What are the 3 things that we're going to be really, really, really good at? Okay. Like, and just make sure that we have that down, the I's dotted, T's crossed. And then maybe let's go back to some of the other opportunities, right? So that is one thing. But then, right, when we now have the opportunity, what does that training look like? And this is something that I'm revamping right now. Again, I'm going back to Dave Williams. I'm in a beta testing group right now. And let me see, I may be able to just share this and forgive me. It's still in beta and I don't have much in here yet, but that's one of my goals here for this week is to load it up with as much as I can. Let me see if I can do a screen share. It's actually, it's really cool. So this is called Jarvie. Let me know if you guys can all see my screen. Can everybody see that? Tony, you see that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So this is now basically, and I love how they call Jarvie. So it's like a play off Jarvis, like from Iron Man. But basically within here, this is going to have, and it's got all kinds of AI, and it's got all these trainings. So, and I'll start here in the training, but this is what I kind of wanted to talk about is that when you're bringing people on, what are they doing? You can see here, I already have some content in here, but what are they doing when they first come on, right? Are they asking you the same questions over and freaking over again, right? Or again, what are you really bringing them into? And so this is kind of like your SOPs, right? So just your standard, your procedures, like, hey, here's what it is, right? Or your operating practices, whatever you want to call them. But then I've got my trucking piece built into here, and then we're going to start building this out where it's got all kinds of, hey, E&O, collecting your errors and omission. We were just talking about E&O and Medicare monsters yesterday, right? And I'm not gonna lie, some of y'all need to check out your E&O policy because I saw some of y'all comments in his Cox, and it's just like, oh man, like you need to get a different policy. But having something kind of like a hub for them to come into, right? And the really cool thing is I can see what they're doing, right? So this one is the training videos on this one. I have built in that they actually have to do a video response. And so they have text response, they have multiple choice response, they have video response. And then on the last trucking one, when we actually go into like quote something through Progressive, they have a screen sharing option where they actually will screen share, show me, like literally they will go through a trucking quote, right? And then have it screen shared so that then I get a report back that I can go in and now see that, hey, look, they're adequate. They know how to quote trucking within Progressive, right? And you can do this with like all kinds of carriers, all that good stuff. So really cool things here in Jarvie. Again, it's still beta testing right now. I'll keep you guys kind of posted on that. The other really cool one, so you've got all kinds of recruiting in here. Let me see if I can actually, I'm not sure. I haven't spent enough time in here. I probably won't show too much of this, but this one's really cool. So they do have AI built into this, and they actually have, this is ChatGPT built into this as well. Okay. So this can be used for recruiting. You can see social media, training materials, employee development, coaching, e-learning, leadership, and they have all these things that are already kind of pre-built into here for you. Okay. But then you can go in here and like, hey, write me an employee manual for this, right? And again, you can make it specific to your business. But again, I'm pretty excited about Jarvie, just because now it's going to give me a home for my people to be able to go in that, hey, when I recruit somebody, like you go straight to Jarvie, and then within Jarvie now you can handle a lot of the things that we were doing. And it just gets meticulous, especially if I'm trying to bring on 50 agencies, making sure everybody has that document and making sure everybody signed this and then sent me this. And then and then you actually all those things, right? That when you're bringing people on, making sure that it is all, and it did work, Larry, I can see you now. But then having that all hosted in one place, I think is going to be a huge benefit for us when we're bringing people on. Because now it's not the back and forth, that are, again, you're getting asked the same question 1,000 times over. And it's like, hey, guess what? There's a place right here. And I can see, it's kind of like your Lightspeed VT. If any of y'all have ever done like Cardone University or Wiggins, CWC, Craig Wiggins coaching, where you have a test at the end of it, right? To where, hey, you can't get past that lesson unless you score at least an 80 or 90%, right? Or you can even set it to 100%. So again, I'm pretty excited about Jarvie, but I think that's one thing. And Tony, maybe you can speak a little bit to that as well. That when you are recruiting, what are you recruiting them to? Right.
Yeah.
I think that's super important.
Yeah, when it comes to recruiting, I mean, you have to figure out who your ideal recruit is, number one, and you have to understand your ability, right, to recruit a certain individual. Some agents, some brokers, FMOs, agencies, whatever, they really don't have the skill set to recruit a brand new agent, right? Someone that is brand new in the business, wet behind the ears, barely even got a license, right? And they're like, I just want to get involved in insurance. There are definitely agencies or people that don't have the skill set to bring that person up, right? Because they're going to need a lot more hand holding. And then you go to the extreme and you have the NMOs, right? Which are kind of the people I'm referencing. They usually don't have the ability to really handle a brand new guy. They're targeting people that are already in the business. They already know the business. They know what they're doing. They just need better products, widgets, tools, resources, contracts, whatever. So ultimately, if you're going to recruit someone into your business, and this is true, I mean, and I'm speaking specifically on agents, right? The people that are producing in the business that can drive more revenue, that can help you scale it. You really got to identify who is the right recruit for you. Who is your ideal recruit? Joe had already kind of alluded this. Is it a match? So don't just go recruit someone because you want another warm body in your group, because that warm body is going to take time away from your day. And if you don't have enough time to invest in them without failing at production on your side, that's going to be a huge challenge for you. So you truly need to think about that. And I made some notes. It's a little separate context of what we're talking about, but we're just talking about scaling. And I started thinking about, if you're an individual agent out there, right? You're not a business, you're not an agency, because those, when you're thinking of scaling, if you run an agency that's got people, it's got a lot of infrastructure, things going on, thoughts on scaling and the steps that you need to take are going to be totally different than if you're as an individual guy and you want to scale or just make more money. Maybe you're not into recruiting, for example. You're like, man, like Joe said at the beginning, maybe you're just one guy and you want to remain one guy, but you do want to increase your money. You want to scale your business to some extent. And what should you actually be doing? And I wrote a few thoughts. The first thing is there a way that you can expand your business model? And what I mean by that is you've shown some success selling whatever product line you're really good at, whether it's Medicare, life insurance, trucking insurance, auto, home, annuities, I don't care, right? You've gotten good at that one product. Well, are there other products that you can add into your portfolio that won't dilute your business, but will provide more opportunities to assist more customers? So it allows you to expand your customer base, right? If you're a Medicare guy and all you do is Medicare, then you can only talk to people that need Medicare help, right? But if you learn maybe to also sell annuities, for example, right, then now I can also start tapping into people that maybe they're not even Medicare age, but they got money and they need an annuity, or they want an annuity so that they can invest and not outlive their money, so to speak. That would be one way, for example. Another thing that you can look at is investing in partnerships, like strategic partnerships, people that can help send you more business, right? That is another way as an individual agent that you can scale, grow your business. Fairly simple. You find someone that a strategic partnership is generally someone who is working with that exact same client that you're working with, or that exact same prospect, but in a non-competing environment. So again, if you're I'm going to use a Medicare guy because that's where I live. If you're a Medicare geek out there, maybe finding a guy that runs an Ed Jones office, right, and deals with financial planning and investments. He's talking to people that are in the retirement space, but he ain't doing Medicare. I guarantee it. And he probably is looking for or could use a good referral partner. Things like affiliate relationships. If you're a really good salesperson and promoter out there, are there affiliate deals that you can tie into that won't take a lot of your time? They still allow you to continue to push your main line of business, but maybe there's an affiliate thing that you can tie into that can help you shave off a little extra cheddar and increase your income. And obviously your network, right? And your network of people is a great way to tap into both of those, to find affiliate relationships, to find strategic partnerships. And then obviously learning to automate processes to streamline your efficiencies so that you can buy some of your time back. I started the call by saying this, like insurance is one of those businesses that as an individual is tough to scale because you're always having to trade time for money. You can only see one person at a time when you're consulting them, helping them find their insurance needs or solve their insurance problems. So what are automations that you can use that can help improve your efficiencies so that you can get more time back, so you can spend more time talking to customers and closing sales versus doing admin bullshit, for example, right? So what can you do there? Streamline it. And then finally, you just have to consistently market your business, right? If you're trying to get more customers, you're going to have to spend more time, energy, or money in marketing to amplify the customers that are coming into your business. And I think those are probably maybe the top, I think I said 4 items there of ways that an individual agent can learn to scale without recruiting, for example.
Yep. Let me, actually, it's so good you said that. So there's this post in this Facebook group, and it says, "Hey, everyone, thought I would start a discussion. What are everyone's favorite?" And I think this goes right alongside what you're saying here, Tony. Is what are everyone's favorite productivity hacks, tips, tricks? I thought if we could share some ideas, we could all make our companies better. You would be surprised what people don't know. And shout out to Billy Wagner. Billy Wagner is probably one of the most impressive guys I've ever had the chance of really getting to meet, not just meet, but sit down with. It's when they did the One City World Tour. It was with Bradley Flowers and Scott Howell and the Glove Box crew. They did it here at Austin. Can't remember if you were in town or not for that, Tony, but I went down and checked it out. It was right there in Austin. And I got a chance to really sit with Billy and just, my Lord, man, how built out this thing has. And he's like, man, and I was like, dude, where do I even start? And he goes, just start with one day, right? And then just start, okay, hey, here's what day 1 looks like, right? And here's what day 2 looks like for somebody. Here's what day 3 looks like. But I wanted to share this because I think it actually goes right into what you were just saying. And again, this goes back to kind of the hacks, tips, or tricks, right, when it comes to productivity. Templates and email for the most common questions, okay? Create videos in the same structure, which is kind of like what we're doing with Jarvie and putting all of our service. Yep, we're putting everything in there. Color code your calendar, he says. This is a really good one. Say no by habit to most things. Say no, read that or hear that again, y'all, right? Because I think a lot of us freaking say yes to everything.
A little too often.
Too often, man. We spread ourselves super thin. But say no by habit to most things. Have a million more, but nothing. He has have a million more, but nothing compares to the productivity gains of an executive assistant. After successfully training mine, my effectiveness literally over tripled, right? And I think that's also something, right? When you're talking about scaling, kind of to your point, Tony, too, even though we were kind of talking about 2 separate things, like how are you trying to scale? I think, for us at Redwood, it was the scariest decision I ever made. Because the only way I ever made money was selling a product, right? Like you sell to make money, right? And it was, but then if I'm trying to go and recruit and scale because I want to bring people along, right? We're trying to grow our agent force, our workforce, right? But then I still got to sell to make money. I mean, it was like, dude, I'm dipping in both. I don't know how to freaking do it, man. those are some crazy days of my life. And shout out to Elle and David Denning. They're like, dude, you're going to have to choose, man. Like, are you trying to grow, right? And not to say that both ways made me money, but it was trying to do both, right? Because it was like, well, I don't want to, like, what if I have a rough month in recruiting, right? That's like, well, shit, then I don't have any money. So I need to be producing. But then it's like, well, I have a rough month in recruiting because I'm spending all my time freaking producing. So I think that's super important for agents, to be able to, for the lack of a better term, diagnose. Like, what are you really trying to do? And for me, that was the scariest decision ever was, hey, dude, I'm not going to produce anymore. I was actually just talking to a guy about it last week. He goes, hey, man, when did you basically stop writing policies and start sending it to your people? And I was like, man, I haven't written a policy in probably 2 years now, if not longer, because I chose to, hey, you know what? I'm a headhunter. Don't get me wrong. I'm still going out there. I'm marketing our agency. I'm getting leads and referrals and everything for my guys. But the gentleman I was speaking with, he goes, man, he's like, that's where I'm struggling is because they don't do it like I do, right? Like they don't do it like Joe would do. And that's, well, one, you have to be able to give that up, right? You're never going to find another Tony Merwin or another Joe Kampert, right? So in order to scale, you're going to have to swallow some of that pride and understand that, hey, guess what? People are different than you, right? As long as they're not cutting corners, it's okay, right? It's a learning experience, right? You're helping grow them and their business. But it's, again, for me, I'm full-blown recruiting. Right. All I do, right, is really market and grow and speak to agents to bring them in. And that, dude, it changed everything for me. I will say again, though, it was the scariest decision ever of like, okay, this is the first month. Like, I'm not selling any policies. Not only am I not selling any policies, I'm sending them to other people to hopefully sell, right? To generate revenue that way. And that's more on the residual play. I'm not really making money up front on that. But then it's, okay, I've got to go and find agents that want to join us, right? And it was a scary freaking decision. But then looking back at it now, man, I mean, it's been the true testament as to how we've been able to freaking scale as much as we have is because we've put a lot of people into the funnel.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not to say that everybody has freaking joined, right? Not to say that like, oh yeah, it's super easy, because there have been, I remember last year, I guess it was last year, maybe it was the year before. No, it was the year before. It wasn't 2023. It was 2022. But I remember, man, I mean, I went on a stretch of like almost 2, if not almost 3 months of where I had nobody joining, right? And that was all my cheddar. I've never been a salary guy or anything like that. So it was like, man, whew, like it's been a rough month, right? But then are you going to stick to it? Right. Because I knew, hey, this is what I believe in. This is what I know I should be doing. I know this is what's really going to ultimately benefit our company. And again, this is me specific, guys. So apply it to you and your business, your organization. But it's like, okay, you know what? Rough month, like screw it, I'll just get back into production. And then it's like, but then what does that do for my funnel, right? That sales cycle. And again, it's a sales cycle, maybe. Right. It's like it costs $25,000 to join our organization. You're not going to one call close everybody. Right. I hope you don't one call close everybody, because there should be more than one call when it comes to spending thousands of dollars like that. Right. But then really, again, kind of learning that, but then staying committed to it, I think is super important for people to understand that, like, hey, what is your role? I guess really. And kind of, again, to your point, Tony, is it like, hey, you know what? I'm still just going to do my own thing. I love affiliate programs. I'm not going to lie, dude. I have a bunch of affiliate stuff going just because it's very congruent to what I do, which is speak to agents, right? Show them systems, show them processes that work for us. And it kind of just goes hand in hand. Or you go to strategic partnerships. It's an amazing way. Like, you don't need to throw 50 agencies at it like we are. It's like, man, just go hit up Ryan freaking Chickelli, right, and get into his annuity partnership program, and the dude will literally sell the annuities for you and pay you on them, right? And anybody that's in the annuity space, especially if you know Ryan, he's no small annuity guy, right? Like, I mean, he's doing millions and millions of dollars of annuities. And then maybe it's, again, you're already working with seniors, already working with somebody who's already retired and guess what? You've only ever done Medicare. So you never really asked the question of how much money did they have in the bank, right? You just wanted to make sure they got enrolled and they weren't penalized. And then maybe they wanted to pick up some additional supplemental, whatever, right? But have you even asked the question of, hey, like, what are your thoughts? Even just like, what are your thoughts about annuities, right? Or like, I mean, have you run a cross-sell campaign to your current book of business? That's the other thing that I would encourage people to look at. I know we're kind of going all over the place here, but I think it's flowing right along, is that, hey, you got a book of business and you're trying to scale. Like, what can you do within your own current book of business before you even go out to try and maybe acquire something else or start up an affiliate program or whatever? Like, is there, back to Tony's original point, is there maybe 1 or 2 products that you can now cross sell to your current book of business? It adds more policies in that household too. Let's be honest, which we all know what that does, is the more policies within a household, right, the better our retention. And right. And especially in me and Tony's space, that's where the money's at, right? Is in our renewals, right? Keeping people on the books. But again, going back to like really defining and knowing your role, like here is what I'm going to do. And not just, okay, hey, I'm going to do it for a few months and see if it works. Like, no, like, hey, when I set out to say, hey, this is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to grow the organization and also feed my team, right? And that's the other thing. I don't know, maybe this isn't the right word, but some of it's maybe sometimes, man, it's selfish. Is everybody they just want to keep it all to themselves, right? And they're like, well, screw everybody else because they'll never be as good as me. So I'm just going to do it myself. And then it kind of goes back to like the conversation that we were having with Elle Denning, not probably a month or so ago, is just that hamster wheel, right? Like people, they just get stuck in that hamster wheel. And then, man, next thing you know, like you're doing literally any and everything. And it is really hard to grow a business, right? Especially like in our space and within just insurances in general, right? It is very difficult to do it by yourself. That's why Billy Wagner said, dude, when I freaking trained an executive assistant, my efficiency and my productivity freaking over tripled, right? Because you got an extra pair of hands on things. And I think that's just super important to really, again, know to identify within your business, like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, and then stick to it. I know that was the game changer for me. It's scary because it's like, well, shit, all right, I'm not writing business anymore. And that's what I feel like a lot of agents out there are told, that, hey, you need to sell policies in order to make money in this organization. Some of the biggest millionaires I know in this industry do not sell policies. And again, not to say that, hey, if it's your business is what you're trying to do and you've identified that this is my role, good for you, stick to it, commit to it. But that was a big thing for me when it came to being able to really grow the organ when it comes to bodies, was, hey, man, this is my full-time job. Is I'm training, I'm finding people, I'm marketing. And that's, I guess, maybe kind of, I guess let's segue into that. Like, how do we even learn about these additional products, right? Or how do we expand your business model? Or how do we find these agencies to come and join Redwood, whatever that is? And that to me goes into marketing. Man, I say, and I'll give you guys my 3 sources, right, of where I'm really doing, like, how I'm getting people in is Facebook. You guys all know it. You're watching me here on freaking Facebook now. Maybe you're catching this on LinkedIn, but most of y'all are catching me on Facebook. I don't even really use LinkedIn for recruiting or anything. It's just kind of not my space. I know it's a powerful tool. It's just not my excuse me, space. But Facebook, okay. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Second one, YouTube. And not necessarily my own channel. I have no problem saying this, dude. I still get calls from that freaking Cody Askins interview, man. And so again, it kind of goes back to those strategic partnerships. Dude, guys, go get in front. I'm at, like, if you have a solid message and you know what you're recruiting to, and you've got the systems and you've got your role identified and locked in and you're committed, dude, you really think you're not going to be able to get somebody, at least just one person, when Cody has 110 freaking thousand subscribers? I'm not even playing to this day. And that video now, that interview is almost 3 years old now. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of views. And I still to this day get people reaching out to me through the website, through Facebook, wherever they find me, right? But again, it's sourced from YouTube. Man, that video content freaking kills. And so again, whether that's through a strategic partnership, that or it's, excuse me, you're just putting out content. Just put out like what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve, right? What your goals are, what you're trying to recruit to. YouTube is a crazy powerful source for that. And I can truly attest to that. I've done multiple things with Cody. We did another one where it was like the agent reach, where I paid to literally Josh Livin. It's how I found you, literally. And Josh just joined us not even 6 months ago, right? And that video is 3 years old. And then the third one, which we all know this one, and it's still 100% works, y'all. Word of mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Word of mouth, right? And I know, Tony, that happens a lot in y'all space, because it turns out you meet this person, and then it's like, oh, what do you know, right? But word of mouth is crazy powerful. I can't tell you how many referrals I get because somebody talked to somebody, and then now they're calling me. They didn't even know I had a huge Facebook group, or have never found me online or anything like that. It was just because somebody told somebody that, or hey, I meet somebody, and or even, it's kind of funny. I was talking to my brother recently, Tony. We called him on New Year's Eve, and we were just talking about some stuff, and he was like, yeah, you guys doing anything? I'm like, yeah, I actually am. I'm off Bourbon Street right now in New Orleans. So yes, we are doing something. But dude, we just kind of started talking a little bit. I don't even know what really we were talking about his wife's father. And then what do you know? Dude's turning 65, and Medicare is extremely freaking complicated, and he doesn't like to mess with it or whatever, because, he's kind of like low key, doesn't really want to whatever. And I'm like, dude, Tony Merwin, man. And Sam's like, oh, duh, man. And it's like, yeah. And you guys have already done business together and know each other. And I'm like, dude, just call Tony. And so that, boom, right there, turning 65 client for Tony, just because literally I was talking to my brother. So again, Facebook, specifically Facebook groups. You guys have seen a lot of my personal profile kind of strategies, leverage those alongside going out and working the groups. But I mean, it's every single day people are looking for a new opportunity, y'all. That, or maybe they're not commenting it, but they see what you're posting and seeing what you're putting out there. And then they start to message you because, like, hey, man, I am kind of looking at a new opportunity. YouTube, really, again, just going back to the video content, letting people really see who is Tony, who is Joe, right? It gives them a way better idea than just like a stock image, of me in a suit saying like, come join the team, right? And then word of mouth. I think those 3 right there for me have been the biggest catalyst when it comes to scaling within our agencies. And again, whether that's from gaining clients or whether that's gaining recruits or whatever that is. I mean, it kind of works hand in hand, because it's really like whether an agent's seeing my content or whether a client is, like, the client's like, wow, man, like that's super official. Like maybe we should hit him up. Or even, again, word of mouth, sitting at the Texas game where we were watching the Bama Michigan game at Manning's it was right across the street from Harris, from the casino.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there talking to this guy, and he goes, wait, hold on, you're in insurance? I was like, yeah. He goes, well, you do like travelers and like that type of stuff? I was like, yeah, absolutely, man. Dude, he's got like 3 houses, 4 cars, a boat, all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, Allstate just killing me, man. I'll go ahead and give you a shot, just because I'm sitting there talking to the guy, having conversation.
Absolutely.
Right? Word of mouth. So it works, again, both on the agent side as well as the client side, for sure.
Yeah. All that boils down to one very simple platitude, and that is attention is currency. Attention's currency,
Right.
man. If you want to grow your team, if you want to grow your client base, etc., you have to garner the attention. And how do you garner attention? You do it through marketing. There's tons of marketing things out there. Joe's been rattling off quite a few of them, certainly some of the popular ones that we're all using. Those may or may not work for you. There may be other things you need to do, but ultimately attention is currency. And if you want to grow your revenue, you have to attract more customers, or if you're recruiting, you have to attract more agents, more producers to your business. And you can't do that by hiding in your office and not talking to anyone. So you have to think about, how can I get my message, my mission, my philosophy, my culture, whatever it is, to as many people as possible so that someone can attract to it. It's one of the reasons, for example, I love doing Medicare seminars, because that allows me to talk to a room full of people instead of one client at a time. Great way to scale my business and grow, because I can get more attention, right, in that hour and a half, instead of spending 1 hour and a half with one individual. Now I'm talking to 15, 20, 30, 40 people at a time. Great way, right? So any way that you can get attention, podcasts are a good way. If you're getting it out to the right people, they can see you. Joe's already saw that interview. I've got stuff I've done with Cody for the same reason. Because, I mean, Joe hit it on the head, man. Cody's got like 110,000 followers, subscribers on his YouTube channel, whatever. I understood that a relationship with Cody was going to garner me attention. So you can call it riding on his coattails, whatever. I don't care. It's a smart relationship that I've developed with Cody. We're good buddies, and it allows me to get attention. I get invited to go speak at events with him because he, number one, knows I'm a good speaker. Number two, knows I know my craft. And number three, it gives me a chance to get in a room full of agents and get what? Get attention. And then from that, agents call me and find me. Participating in Facebook groups with reasonable time. Like, don't sit around all day just commenting in groups. But I developed a huge part of my following on Facebook in 2 very simple ways. And I did it on LinkedIn too, but Facebook is where I got most of the real traction. I developed a bunch of followers on LinkedIn doing this, but the ones that seemed to respond more and actually contacted me were all through Facebook. Don't really understand why, but I'm not going to argue with it. I make more money through Facebook than LinkedIn all day. And this is a super simple cheat that I did. And I've talked about this before, was I went and I started to become a news aggregator on Facebook for the industry. I was like, okay, how do I position myself to get attention? Well, I can develop all my own content, which is certainly a great thing to do. Or I can just find content that's already out there, that's relevant, that's on point, and I can get it in front of people. And I started doing that regularly on Facebook. And next thing I know, I became known as a news aggregator. I was in everybody's feed. Now I've got 5,000 plus people following me on Facebook. And the next thing I know, my IM is popping with agents who are like, hey, man, I see your post over here. I see your stuff over there. Seems like you're on point. You kind of got your finger on the pulse. You know what's going on. I'm interested in maybe some opportunities that I might be able to work with you on. Yep. Boom. And that's a part of that attention is what garnered me the ability to take Avila from 3 agents in January of 2023 to 88 agents that we have as of current right now. And we're about to put on another 15. We're going to be at 100 before probably the end of this month. And then the sky's the limit from there. The goal is to grow it into 1,000 by the end of this year. Big goal, but I'm a little different type of recruiter, right? I have the ability to go after both the new agent that needs help from the ground up, and I have the contract levels where I can go after groups of agents that truthfully don't take as much of my time because they already know what they're doing. They already have a leader in place that trains them. They just need a better contract, widget, tool, resource, et cetera, to plug into their system to do well. So maybe it's a cheat code, but it works for me. But ultimately, I think growth and scaling your business, regardless if you're an individual agent that's just trying to grow and make more money without truly duplicating yourself, but just grow your actual practice, or if you're an agency that's trying to grow, I think it boils down to basically 4 things that I kind of notated down here as we've been going through this. One is, and Joe hit this, it was one of the first things he said when he talked about what he does when he's recruiting agents. He pitches House of Dreams. What is that? That's his core values. So number one, if you're going to grow your business, even if you're an individual agent, you got to put focus on your own core values. What are those values? Are you living up to them? Are you abiding by them? Do they are they represented in how you talk to your customers, how you acquire customers, how you handle customers? Or on the flip side, is all of that amplified in how you recruit agents, train agents, develop agents, right? Number 2, what is your financial health in your business? Are you maintaining financial health in your business? Are you monitoring it? Do you even know what your numbers are? Do you know how many ads it takes to generate a lead? Do you know how many leads it takes to generate a sale? Do you know how many sales it takes to generate a second sale? Do you know how many sales it takes to generate a referral? Like, do you understand all that? Do you know what your expenses are versus your actual profit, gross profit, net profit? How deep can you break that down? What's your cost per lead? What's your cost per acquisition? What is your financial health in your business? You cannot grow your business if you don't understand your financial health. And number 2, if it's not healthy. And if you're losing money all the time and you can barely ends meet, you're going to have trouble growing your business, number 1. So you got to know what your financial health is. Number 3, put a lot of emphasis on your customer relationships. And again, this doesn't matter if you're an individual or if you're an agency that's growing through duplication, right? But you got to put an emphasis on customer relationships. Why? Because that creates retention, number 1, which is the name of the game in insurance if it's going to be lucrative, right? Unless you're just selling annuities, and obviously you're getting paid like gangbusters every time you make one sale. There really is not much in renewals in there. But in the Medicare space, certainly true in the P&C space, renewals are king. So I can't just go write my customer and let him leave and make my one rip. That's no good for me, right? I've got to keep them on the books. So customer relationships are extremely important for that growth to happen. That's going to create retention for me. It's also going to create referrals. Because if I take good care of my customers and I develop great relationships with my customers, it stimulates referrals. You're like, man, my friend Janet over here is getting screwed by her agent. My guy Tony is gangbusters. Let me send Janet over here. Tony's the problem fixer. Call him, right? Customer relationships develop that. Customer relationships also develop more sales from that customer. Because if they truly trust you, if they truly have a great relationship with you, they're liable to buy more products from you that fit their needs. So put a lot of emphasis on your customer relationships if you truly want to grow your business. And the final one is invest in employee development. And I know it says employee development, but you yourself are your own employee if you're an individual agent. So are you investing in your own development to grow yourself as a means to grow your business? Are you learning new tools? Are you learning new trades? Are you learning new processes? Are you staying ahead of the curve? Or are you just the same old agent still writing on paper apps like we were 20 years ago? Which I don't think too many carriers even take paper apps nowadays, but there are a few. But are you investing in yourself as well? Are you training yourself? Are you role-playing with yourself or someone else that can help you? Are you tuning in to shows like this where maybe you can pick up nuggets? Are you reading books? Right? Are you constantly developing yourself? Because you can't expect your business to grow and develop if you're remaining stagnant as an individual. It just won't work. And I think ultimately growth in your business, regardless if you're an individual agent or if you're an agency, kind of boils down to those 4 items, right? Core values, financial health, customer relationships, and individual growth or employee growth.
So I have a question for you. And it was when you're talking about how you're able to, I can recruit to the individual as well as the groups. And again, this is, guys, I'm asking this question just for the sake of asking the question. Don't use it as an excuse in your business. But I just was curious to hear what your thoughts would be on this, or just what your insights or advice would be to an agent that, again, maybe hasn't been in 18 years and does not have contract levels to be able to compete with maybe, again, we'll call it your contract level, right? Now, again, some people will use that as a crutch and as an excuse as to why they can't go out and recruit, which I think that's BS. So guys, I'm not asking that question for the sake of that. That is an excuse. But I'm asking Tony, so for somebody who is, hey, you know what? I know I've got to work up to it, right? I haven't been in 18 years, right? What would be maybe, and again, I'll maybe follow suit with you on my side of things on like what I would suggest. But what would be your advice to somebody that, hey, I am trying to grow, right? And maybe, and again, and I hope you kind of understand the question that I'm asking, right? Where it's, hey, maybe I'm not as equipped as Tony is to go get agents, right? And people obviously know who Tony is. What is one or two things that you could give them that would, again, separate them from the crowd? Is it going back to is it the core values?
Value.
Right?
No, it's your own value. What value are you bringing
right.
to the relationship?
Right.
That's ultimately what it comes down to. What value are you bringing to the relationship? So even if your contract level isn't, and I'll just use some arbitrary numbers. Let's say you're a street level agent, which means you can't offer any downline agent a street level contract because that's your level. If you give him street level, then there is no override. Like it doesn't even work. So if you're a street level guy and you do want to duplicate yourself, but you can't get a higher contract level, well, there are below street levels. And I'm not, and some agents would say, well, you're screwing that agent if you're not giving him street level. No, not necessarily true. If my value as a mentor, a coach, right, an upline is there, then who cares what contract level I'm giving the other person? Right? The difference is made up in the value that I'm bringing them, because I don't care if you're at 100% contract or a 50% contract. 100% of nothing is nothing.
Nothing. Right.
I would rather make more. I mean, I'll take a 50% contract on something if it means that I'm going to get what I need to make a lot of sales and make money. It's not like people get stuck on contract level way too often. The only thing my contract levels allow me to do is go recruit an agency that needs that contract level to even do business with me or anybody else, right?
Right.
And I'm not going to name names, but there's a group that I work with in South Carolina. They run their own shop. For all intents and purposes, they just need me for the relationship and the contract, and that is it. I hardly ever talk to them, not by choice, not because I'm trying to say, well, I don't want to work with them, I don't want to talk to them. Just go sell and make me money. Like, I'm going to travel out there in February and hang out with the dude and spend some time with them. But like, it's just a kind of a different deal. But there is a value there because he knows at any time he can call me, and my experience in the business has guided him already a few times and got him out of some jams with contract levels. And that's why he's like, man, Tony's helped me negotiate some things in my business where I had some messed up parts that I needed to fix. And he gave me the guidance. He gave me some tutelage. So I want to do some contracts with him as well, because I want to be able to pick up that phone call or that phone and call Tony and be like, hey man, I got some questions about my business I need some help with. I need some direction here. And that's why that relationship works. So again, what is the value you're bringing to the table? Because that's going to make up the difference in the contract levels, period. So even if you're a guy at street level and you're wanting to recruit an agent at a subcontract level, don't sweat it. Just understand that, okay, there's a certain agent that I'm looking for that's going to fit that. And then two, I'm going to provide value that makes up for those couple of points.
Yep. 100%. I think, you said emphasize customer relationships. I've got to give a shout out to my guy, Austin. He messaged us in Teams yesterday. And so this guy that he was working last week was getting everything taken care of. And it was like I believe it's from a referral or something I can't remember how he got in front of it. Something either came through the website or something, whatever, maybe forwarded it to him, that maybe he found it through Facebook. But he was able to take care of them. And then the guy texted him, was like, hey, can I call you? And literally Austin called him within a minute. And it turns out he's got this chick that only needed it's like his neighbor, and was like, hey, and literally the guy handed his phone to the freaking neighbor for Austin to be able to quote the neighbor and take over all the policies, because she just wanted one agent to be able to handle everything, this, and this, right? So again, that's the client relationship, but then or the customer relationship, but then you just hit it, that freaking nail on the head perfectly too, is guess what? that applies to the agent relationship as well.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody knows me, or if any of our agents are watching this now, I know Josh, you're on here. They know that I have a relationship with our agents, right? Now, not to say that I can pick up the phone every single time you call, but you best believe I'm going to call you back. You best believe I'm going to message you back, right? And again, it just goes back to, and it's crazy to me. Like, that's the benchmark, Tony, right? Is that the reason that you were able to help somebody navigate and get out of a jam, right? Is because you just answered the damn phone, right? When somebody calls you, especially when they're your agent, guys, right? Like, so many people are like, oh, fuck, that's the agent. Like, and they don't want to answer. Right? But it's like, dude, they're your agent, man. Like, they're on your team. They're part of your business. Regardless of whether they're running their own shop or not, it's still, again, I feel like there's just this duty that we have to be able to either return the phone call, pick up the phone call, whatever that might look like. But I think that's the sad part, man, is our benchmark is so freaking low that that's a reason that I feel like a lot of people leave their uplines, right? Well, for the lack of a better term, whatever, is like they'll leave just because, man, they never answer, right? They never pick up my calls. And it's like, isn't that crazy that we have turnover in this industry because people just won't pick up their freaking phone call from the person that actually is making them money, if we're being honest, right? Which is just so crazy to me. So I think I wanted to emphasize customer relationships, but emphasize agent relationships as well. Was just talking with Brian, you guys obviously know, one of my new partners. And like, dude, we're already talking with sponsor. We're about to throw a whole event, like a retreat for the Redwood and Clarity agents, right? To get everybody in the same room and again, emphasize that relationship with our agents, because ultimately it's, if I'm trying to bring on 50 agencies, don't act like that's not going to impact some relationships, right? But as long as I know that I have that core relationship, right? I've got that foundation, right? We've got the house of dreams really backing it. It's and they are in alignment with what the vision and what the business is actually trying to do, and what their piece, again, going back to identifying your role, right? And what you're doing within a business or within your own business, within an organization, you name it, right? I think it's so important to really, again, put emphasis on that. It's like, man, these are people at the end of the day, man. And I think sometimes, don't get me wrong, you need to have that business relationship in place. But sometimes, man, people let business trump like just being a good freaking person, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
and caring
man.
about other people. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, good stuff. Love it. Love it. No questions in the comments. We're approaching the hour, so that looks like it is the show, man. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. We truly appreciate all of you in the group, your support and everything. I've said it before, but if you know, these videos always live in the group, you can go back, you can find them in the videos tab. They get pushed out to YouTube as well, thanks to our producer, Lily. And then obviously we are on social media. We're on Instagram and TikTok as well. So if you like the bite-sized chunks,
social media.
yeah. So if you like the bite-sized chunks, cruise over there. You can check some of that out. And certainly if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, because that's where you can always just find some of this gold content that we're putting out there for you. So we appreciate it. I will also say one other thing. If there's anything that you ever want covered on the show that maybe we haven't talked about, whether it's a guest that you think would be awesome to show, someone you want to hear us interview, talk to, or a certain topic that you just want us to cover, drop it in the comments, throw it in the Facebook group. We'll make sure to get it on here. And as always, man, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Remember, and not only is today the peak of the week, but it's the first Wednesday of 2024. You got a long road ahead of you to finish the year. Now's the time to start really thinking about what you want to do for the year, and throttle down, and let's go achieve your goals, man. That's what this is about. So we want to see you achieve them. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and let's go have some growth in 2024. Let's make that.
Let's put a little emphasis on some relationships, man. I like that.
Yeah.
Let's put some emphasis in your relationships with your clients, with your agents, with really anybody involved in your freaking business, with your virtual assistants, with anybody, right? Anybody that's involved in your business. Let's put some emphasis into that relationship. And I had some positive emphasis, right? Don't I think there could potentially be some negative emphasis. But again, put some emphasis in those relationships. We appreciate y'all, and we will see you guys next Wednesday. Take it easy.